If we're talking about the fake alien invasion, the potentiality thereof, almost like a card that's about to be played. Will it be played? There's some important questions here. Will that card be played? And why hasn't it been played already? Because everything's in place for the card to be played. And what would the consequence be? That's the biggest, most exciting answer, because that's when the galactics get involved. Okay, let me not spoil the ending for you. Today I'm going to talk about the possibility of a fake alien invasion. It is the last card. But what's the game and what are the cards that I'm talking about? The cards are what the archons and the archonic forces have used throughout history in order to control humanity. How do you control a species? Through fear. The multiple cards or distraction tactics that have been played in the past include things like World War I and World War II and the Cold War and multiple events throughout history, a recent pandemic, multiple events throughout history with one purpose in mind, and that is to thwart the ascension process, to bring humanity into a fear state, because from fear, people are very easy to control. From fear, people will do almost anything for a sense of safety and for a big authority figure to come in and intervene and make everything okay again. So this card has been played, or these cards have been played multiple times, and they're the cards that the archons have used to literally play humanity into a corner. But what's happened in spite of all of these things is humanity has evolved beyond where they were meant to be, at least from the viewpoint of quantum computers, because that's part of the technology that the archons use. The archons, by the way, if you want to know more about them, I'll give you a very brief synopsis of who they are. They are a group of psychopathic beings who think that they are God. They have posed as God and play God in our politics and in our reality. They've done this to maintain a false matrix. We're in the process, however, of breaking free from the false matrix. I'm going to link a whole lot of videos for you that you can go find out more about that history. The point, however, being that there have been multiple distraction events, and the ultimate end game is control of humanity and the thwarting of humanity's natural tendency. If left undisturbed, humanity is going to grow. If left unmanipulated, humanity is going to ascend. If left to their own devices, humanity, almost like an elastic band, is going to spring back into their inherent state of being, which is abundance and love and forgiveness and peace and beauty. The natural, the innate nature of a human being is truly beautiful. But as you can see, through multiple coordinated events upon this planet, including the pushing, squeezing of humanity into dire states of poverty and the resultant depression that facilitates, all of this is part of a great manipulation of human consciousness in order to prevent ascension. What is ascension? Ascension is when humanity raises frequency into a 5D state, a fifth dimensional state of consciousness. And from that 5D state of consciousness, humanity can no longer, sorry, you guys. Humanity can no longer be manipulated from that 5D state of consciousness. Not only will they no longer be manipulated, they will no longer populate the false matrix. That's the end game for the archons. Because without a population to populate the false matrix, the archons are left without a fuel supply. They feed off of the energetic output of the creator beings who populate the false matrix. That's the human beings. Do you get that? The human beings are the ones who create. The archons cannot create. They can only engineer. They lost their ability to create because they separated themselves from God. It's part of their psychopathic leaning whereby they believed that they were superior to God, separated themselves from the original source that they come from, at least through their own rejection of the God that they originally come from. In so doing, they lost their ability to create and needed a slave populace to populate the false matrices that they were setting up throughout the universe in order to create on their behalf, to create darkness, to create dismay, to create mayhem, to create division, to create everything that humanity is creating through being toyed with and manipulated with through these various cards that the archons have been playing. Now, What's taking place is, despite their best attempts at holding humanity back, despite all of that, humanity continues to spiritually ascend, awaken, evolve, to become more loving, to become the answer, to become the peace, to become the kindness, to become the solution and the resolution of all of the darkness that we once lived in. So humanity is not so easy to program anymore. In fact, much to their dismay, what has occurred is previous cards that were played in order to control humanity. Remember, the cards are those big scary events, World War I, World War II, etc., pandemics. Recently, what's happened is, instead of having the effect of thwarting humanity, controlling humanity, preventing them from elevated states of consciousness, it's having a boomerang effect and landing up, waking up the masses. So there's almost like there's been an accidental side effect, which is great for humanity, not so good from the archonic perspective, and that is, humanity has been accidentally awakened by the very ones who want to keep them asleep. So now they're in dangerous territory. Think about what other distraction tactics malevolent beings could play upon humanity. You know, war is certainly one of them. Political escapades is absolutely one of them. Because all of that creates division. It creates fear, and it creates division, and it creates hatred, and it creates separation. So these are certainly viable tactics, but what they're looking for right now is something electrifying. Something that has a huge punch in the guts, so to speak, for this ascending human consciousness, because that's what's taking place right now. The human consciousness is evolving beyond a point that can be predicted, beyond a point that can be calculated, beyond a point that can be controlled. This is bound to happen because we are ascending. But the archonic influences will keep playing their game right beyond the end points. They already can see that they've lost control of the false matrix, but they are continuing their attempts, and they will still. So don't be surprised that you see stuff happening on the planet where you can see this kind of manipulation playing out. They're looking for something that is going to thwart once and for all this uncontrollable awakening, the spiritual awakening that's spreading through the masses. Why is it spreading like this? Because finally, each human being on the planet, and I should actually rephrase that and rather say each light worker on the planet, first of all, is being a ripple. Oh my God, you guys, every light worker, that means you. That means you're a being who works with light, works with love, works with consciousness and the embodiment of that consciousness. You're watching this video right now. That means you are a light worker, because light is the evolution of consciousness. It is love. It is God's world. Every light worker on the planet is being a beacon, being a ripple, number one. Number two, every light worker on the planet, oh, you guys, is supported in a way that words can't describe. Every light worker has at least one, but many of them more, rods of light in proximity to where they stay. Meaning, in the house that you live in the environment that you're in, you are grid working without even knowing that you're grid working. Because where you are present, a rod of light is present too. That rod of light is a beacon. Kind of think of it as a cosmic rod of consciousness that brings heavenly, cosmic, divine frequencies down into the earth. You are part of the anchor point that facilitates that and allows that to happen, because you're the one in proximity to the rod of light. You're the one absorbing the frequency of the rod of light once the cosmic download moves through that rod into the earth and comes back up again. So you are supported in a way that words can't describe. It's okay if you don't understand the mechanics of that. Really, you guys, you don't need to understand the mechanics of anything that I'm describing to you. I literally just share this information for those of you who are really genuinely curious. I know there's a lot of you and you want to understand exactly the mechanics. So that's okay. If you want the information there, I've given it to you. But if that information is just perhaps a little bit too much to contend with, let it go. It's not necessary. In other words, it's not going to make or break your journey, your purpose as a light worker. What's taking place right now is the light workers are becoming an unpredictable ripple. That's why that punch in the gut is needed. That's why something truly captivating and electrifying is needed in order to prevent that from carrying on. So a fake alien invasion would be very much that card to be played. But why hasn't it been played yet? Because, it's not because we don't have the technology to do that. Our governments, plural, have had for multiple years the capability to launch multiple, what we would think of as UFOs, but they're not from another world. They are made and created and harbored here in our world. We've been reverse engineering technologies for so many years. Can you hear it in the microphone? I'm sure you can. There are birds outside. It's the beginning of spring here, you guys. There are birds outside and they're just, my garden is alive right now. So we have the technology, we have the capability. It hasn't been used before because of an ultimatum from the Galactics. And the ultimatum was, okay, we see, manipulative ones, dark ones, we see that you have this agenda to create a fake alien invasion, because what that would do is it would bring all of humanity's focus into one central place. Everything, all of the cards, the wars and the pandemics and so forth, all of these cards that have been played, what do? They bring humanity's focus into a central point of misery or a central point of fear. A fake alien invasion would really tick all of those boxes. Because what it would do is it would put people into a survival state of being again. It would make people very easy to mislead. Can you imagine walking outside? There's lights in the sky. There's UFOs everywhere. What's the average human being, the average man on the street going to do? They're going to drop to their knees and they're going to go, somebody's come to save me. Somebody's come to fix it all. What's the message of the Galactics? The Galactics are beings who are 5D and beyond. I've worked with them for much of my life. What is their prerogative that they always share with us? It is so simple. We're not here to intervene. We're here to facilitate you being able to do this for yourself, to get up off your knees, humanity, to rise up, to realize that you are the answer, the remedy, the love, the change, the everything that you need. You are the ones you are waiting for. The moment we forsake our own power and put it in the hands of an external force, we've pretty much derailed our ascension process. So the Galactics have said, okay, so we see that there is this malevolent plan to control humanity through what's going to appear, through all intents and purposes, as off-planet beings coming to forewarn humanity, whether that be through force or through love. It would probably be through a loving, docile, peaceful facade. Note that word, facade. So a faked out version of, we're here for you, humanity. Guys, does this sound familiar? It's the Atlantean story all over again. I released a video about this some time ago explaining to you that when Atlantis fell, it fell because it was at the brink of ascension. The archonic beings came in and said, we're here to save you guys. Phew, aren't you lucky? I mean, we've arrived just in time because you were on the brink of a disaster. You were on the brink of not ascending. The Atlanteans got such a fright, they gave their power up and said, okay, lead us, great wise warriors. Lead us, great loving beacons of light and beauty. And they weren't. They were being fooled. Guys, I've dealt with many astral beings who've taught me some very valuable things. And that is an entity or a trickster being or a being of darkness in general doesn't pitch up that way and say, hi, I'm here to siphon your energy. They generally pitch up with beauty, a little bit of glistening light, smile, gleaming white teeth, this imaginary presence of love, so that you trust them, so that you give your power over to them, so that your mind overrides the warning signs that you do feel in their presence. You will feel warning bells. Let me tell you, if the galactics, meaning 5D beings and beyond, came into our skies, first of all, they wouldn't do that. Do you know that? They would only come if they're invited. An entity will come in and tell you that they're there to save you. A truly benevolent being will come in only by invitation. They are very much in our skies, the galactics, and they have told the malevolent dark forces, if you play that card of the fake alien invasion, whether it is to lead humanity through an illusory love into their own demise, or whether it is to lead humanity through fear into their own demise, either way, your intention is then to derail ascension, we will then have to intervene. And the way that we will intervene is to be the counterbalance. You will then force our hand to intervene. Remember that part of the galactics prerogative, or their way in which they deal with humanity, is never to interfere. Absolutely no interference, so that this ascension is a human-led ascension. That's what it has to be. If it's led by a galactic being, it would have been led by a galactic being by now, and we would have figured out that unless it's human-led, we're just giving our power away to an external source. It has to come from within us. But nonetheless, the galactics' hands would then be forced, and they would then need to come in as counterbalance. So they are prepared, they are ready, and they are waiting. And there are multiple hundreds of thousands of ships, of craft, ready to come into the earth to be the counterbalance if that card is played. That's why the card hasn't been played before. And that's what would happen. The galactics would intervene if it were played. So you can understand why there's so much hesitation. And you can also understand why I thought, and a part of me still believes it, that we're simply not going to see it, because that's too big of a dice to roll. If the Dark Ones employed a plot or a plan to distract humanity that boomeranged and backfired again, and allowed for 5D beings to come into the planet, that is going to facilitate a pop awakening of humanity, the likes of which we haven't seen before, the likes of which no previous distraction event could have boomeranged into this level of awakening that would happen. So it's a dice. Are they going to roll that dice? It looks that way. It looks like they really want to. If they don't, there are multiple distractions up the sleeves of the Dark Ones. This is simply one of them, and I wanted to make you aware of it. I wanted to make you aware that if you see lights in the sky, maybe it is truly non-terrestrial beings. But ask yourself a couple of questions to check out whether or not it is. Does it feel like peace? Do you feel a deep, resounding peace within you in the presence of the lights in the sky that you're seeing? Because there's a lot of activity in our skies right now. You guys, it's unprecedented. Unprecedented. There have always been a very active galactic presence in our skies, but it's never been this busy before. The reason that they have remained cloaked, the reason that they have remained hidden, was always to serve their objective of non-interference with humanity. But will their hand be forced? I don't know. It's looking at the amount of preparation on the galactic side. They know that there's the potential that this could be escalated, and that this would be an event to take humanity off, to derail them off their path. The reason why it has to happen from their perspective now, or sometime very soon, sometime maybe as soon as November. You guys, I've spoken about November before, and I've told you it's a little bit of a peak energy period. Why? Because humanity is, by the day, raising consciousness to the point where the malevolent ones can no longer reach them, can no longer follow, and they can't afford for that ripple to carry on much longer on the planet, because then they will truly lose. It's not, some people, somebody said to me yesterday, in fact, oh, this is just about people not wanting to lose an election. No, you guys, it's much bigger than not wanting to lose an election. This is about not wanting to lose a false matrix, not wanting to lose a world that is incredibly important to the archonic ones, who hold what they hope to become an entire universe of false matrices. We're in the process of crumbling the most important of all of the false matrices, which has a ripple effect on the entire orchestration of a very malevolent reality structure. Upon the collapse of the false matrix, we return back to the divine matrix. In other words, back to God's world, the organic universe that we come from. And so many of you already have begun to do that in your heart. So let the words that I'm about to say meet you there in your heart. The words are so simple because love is simple. Love doesn't ask you to jump through hoops and earn anything. Love asks you to just be loved. So that's what I ask you now. To just let love in. Do you remember earlier I said, how will you know if the lights in the sky are really benevolent, non-terrestrial beings? You will have asked for them. You will have asked for contact somewhere before. Number one. Number two, it'll feel a lot like this. Incredibly silent, soft, loving, peaceful. Like there'll be a very personal connection to you. And in that deep personal connection to you, you'll feel stabilized, you'll feel centered, you'll feel grounded. You won't feel panicked. And you won't feel hysterical. Very calm, very stabilized. So these are the energetic cues to watch for. From my heart, all the way to yours. So much love. You know what, you guys, I take it as a kind of compliment, huh? That this is what it takes. This is what it takes to bring down the human consciousness. How tenacious are we really?